Good morning, everyone. Good morning. It is such a nice, sunny, beautiful day out there that I am going to do my best to make this a short, quick service so we can enjoy this beautiful day. So, let's start that off. I'm going to start with a moment of centering silence. So today's topic is going to be on the idea of the interconnected web that we're all part of life. About posing some questions about where do we fit in that. So before I dive too much into the theological and philosophical weeds, I figure we might share our own interconnected web by starting with the lighting of candles of joys and concerns. Oh, wait. Totally forgot. Again, I'm so out of practice with live services. Chalice lighting. Cool. Would you mind lighting the chalice for us this morning? This morning we light the chalice for that interconnected web of life, that thing that we are all a part of, and are usually finding ourselves questioning our place within. So now that our chalice has been lit, I'll open it up for anyone who would like to light a candle of joy or concern this morning.
Here's a candle of joy. Donna and I attended a wedding of one of our best friends, and it was fantastic. It was a really, really good trip, and this is that our thoughts are with Gabby and Tracy, because they're wonderful people, and all the wonderful people we met on our travels, and that we got home safely. I'll mask up for a while to make sure we're safe, but we're happy to be back. Thank you.
This is a candle of concern for parents and for friends who nurture as parents. You still have great concerns for your adult children and grandchildren. And when you're a distance away, you want to help and you don't know how. And just that the power of prayer and love over the miles will help make a difference. So for all of us with children, grandchildren, friends going through hard times, may our concern reap blessings for them. are so slippery, I can't get the candle in there.
This is a candle of concern. And before you all gasp, I have been doing a lot of research on monkeypox. Yes, it's reached Maine. No one has died. 2 children have got it, but it's only from being held by people who had it and didn't know it, or the other one was in the bedding. And only 2 people have died, and that was in Africa. But every state has at least 1 case, and Maine just got theirs yesterday. But the mask is not going to help you. It's the gloves. And the only way it can be spread is through bodily fluids. And they're blaming a population on it. And it's not just that population, because there are promiscuous people in our world. And what other thing was it? I get nervous when I get up here in front of everybody. Yeah, this is very important. We don't know where our stuff is coming from in the stores. If you're very concerned about it, like me, I haven't gone so far as to wash every box or, wipe it down with vinegar and water, everything like that. But yes, I do put my fresh vegetables, if I buy them in a store, even if I buy them from the Amish down the market, I have my dish pan, fill it with water, cold water, and I glug regular vinegar in it and let them soak for 5 minutes. Okay? I just wanted to make you be aware of that, and if you don't feel comfortable going to the store and handling things, wear the plastic gloves. When you go home, peel them off inside out, throw them in garbage. Don't touch the outside of them. So, stay safe.
This one's a candle of personal joy. We just got 33 more days until the wedding, and basically found out that I'll be able to be back in Maine more often than I thought I was going to be. Got my lead teacher position back at the Carleton Project, so I'll be back and forth part-time throughout the year. So everything seems to be coming along nicely. And I'll light a silent candle for any unspoken concerns. Anyone has any names they'd like to say, they'd like people to keep in their thoughts and prayers this week, feel free to say them now.
With Cricket and Corbin.
I don't think that there's a single part of our rituals at this church that doesn't reflect how interconnected we are better, sharing joys and concern each week. Because whenever we're able to share our joys, they multiply, and when we share our concerns, it makes the load lighter for each of us. So as I stated at the beginning, I wanted to talk about the interconnected web of life. And the origin of actually the story I'm going to read today, actually comes from the most well-known interconnected web of life that we have in today's society, Facebook. You know, it's unavoidable. It's something you cannot step away from. In the past, it's like 16 years Facebook's been around. Yeah, it's yeah. Think about that. You know, it's unavoidable. It's something that everybody interacts with every single day. It's how people, well, okay, sorry, not everybody, most people. But late one night I was scrolling through and I was seeing all the different political posts that all my friends on both sides were posting, and I felt like I didn't really agree with a lot of the posts. You know, everyone had, like, personally, I've always said it before, I'm very much third party when it comes to politics. I agree with one side in some ways, I agree with the other side in the other way, and every time I interact with Facebook, I just get to the point where I'm like, I feel like I'm going to start yelling at one person, one side or the other, and I'm just like, no, I'm just going to walk away. So instead of responding to a bunch of different posts, I decided, like, you know what, I'm just going to write a story and just go off and do my own thing. But the idea of the story was actually came from a bunch of the other posts that were happening that night. Somebody had posted the Fermi paradox. For those that don't know, the Fermi paradox is the mathematical equation that figures out whether or not we're alone in the universe. Very complex, very early on Sunday morning, so I'll try to keep the math simplified. It's simply the odds based on number of planets, number of suns in the solar system, number of suns that have livable planets, how long those would be around, how long it takes for life to evolve, all that different stuff. You enter in those numbers and you get an answer. The problem being that we can never figure out an actual answer. Because we know that at least one answer to this math equation is one. One planet, one solar system, one intelligent life form. And scrolling through Facebook, looking at arguments, and realizing myself that I was about to get pulled into one of these, I was just like, how is it that we're the only intelligent life form, and all we're doing with our intelligence is arguing with each other on the internet? And of course that made me start questioning, okay, so what's the other answers to the Fermi paradox? What's the different solutions they come up with to try to rationalize why it's one? And there's, or why, if the answer isn't one, how come we haven't encountered anyone else out there yet? And it came to me while I'm on Facebook looking how everybody's arguing with each other. I'm like, this is it. This is the answer. This is why they're not contacting us. Because that's one of the answers, is that we're not advanced enough for, if there is intelligent life out there, they're like, no, you're too young, not ready. We're going to let you do your thing, figure your stuff out. When you're grown up, you can join the whole intergalactic community. Kind of like in the old Star Trek TV series, The Prime Directive, where advanced life forms would not interfere with developing planets. one of the other solutions to the Fermi paradox is that we're the first. We're the first intelligent life form to evolve in the universe to this point. We're the only ones. We're going to be the ones to go out and spread throughout. And I'm like, yeah, that's not going to. Are we really going to take Facebook to the stars? I hope not. The other one solution was is that some scientists speculate is that we're actually the last. That all the other civilizations were so old that they just died out naturally, or possibility number 4, I think I'm up to, is that every other civilization that's gotten to the point that we're at failed to go through what they call great filters, which is different key points in the evolution of an intelligent being, a whole species, whole planet, where you reach a certain point where your technology could end up wiping you out. And when I thought about that night, I looked at human history. We've come close a number of times to not making it through a great filter. The atomic age, World War II, when we first started using the atomic weapons. Huge moment, very great success that we made it through it. Because that could have easily been the destruction of life as we know it on this planet. And then I was like, wait, there's other great filters. It's not just our technology. It's all the different stuff that possibly could have wiped us out. Plagues, asteroids, ice ages. So much stuff that has happened in the history of this world that human beings and the rest of the life forms on this planet we exist with, we're all connected with, survived through it together to get to a point where we're here today. And as all these crazy ideas are stewing and mingling in my head, I came up with my own answer to this Fermi paradox of why are we, seemingly alone. And I'd like to read that answer to you today. Dear humans, thank you for your interest in joining the Galactic League of Non-Aligned Worlds. We regret to inform you that your application for membership has been declined at this time, as we noticed some issues after our fact-finding investigation. We have noticed that you do not meet our criteria for membership on the following points. Unsustainable economic systems. It seems that neither of your planet's systems of resource management is suited to provide for the basic needs of all your native intelligent life forms. It seems that the hoarding of resources by those at the top of both the capitalist and socialist systems has resulted in those at the lower levels being oppressed into substandard living conditions, medical care, and without universal level of education. Maintenance of these systems through fear, competition, and aggression, and even the most basic of your social groups, is a major concern to the GALANW. As for how you would participate in trade negotiations with our member planets. Unstable ecological systems. The GLNAW is simply impressed that your homeworld is inhabitable to not just your species, but those that sustain you. The speed at which organisms on your planet are able to adapt to the environmental distress levels speaks of genetic ability no member planet has ever seen before outside of viral pandemics. Where this ability has been limited in the biological potential, sorry, I gotta get my glasses out. Where this ability has been limited in the biological potential of your homeworld, it has been supplemented by your technological skills. It is clear by the evidence of primitive tool usage by other life forms native to your planet that this intellectual potential is in fact a genetic trait of your planet. In referencing historical data, our scientists have noticed that your planet's life forms have survived multiple global, near-complete biological collapses. It is the consensus of our scientific community that only the complete sterilization of a homeworld can remove this genetic potential from the universe. While your species has evolved to be able to cope with such an extreme and hostile environment to the point that you do not even notice just how fragile your ecosystem is, the member planets of GLNAW do not share this luxury. We fear that the cultural contamination of such a view of ecological stewardship would lead to the complete biological collapse of many of our member planets. Issue number 3, the social, emotional instability. Please do not take offense to our rejection of your application on these grounds. We do not mean any offense by citing these grounds in this letter. We understand that while the same forces that have evolved the impressive intellectual and survival potential we stated above, those same forces have reinforced the genetics for aggression and competition. Your own petition for membership called this the human fighting spirit for survival. When stating your people's most notable trait, having a number of member beings that have evolved from predator gene pools, we understand the biological need for savagery and the hunter-prey system. Only we have never seen a planet whose dominant intelligence was forced to evolve with such a top-heavy ecosystem of predators. After having consulted with the mental health professionals of the GLNAW, we have diagnosed your species with post-traumatic evolutionary disorder. It is on the grounds that your planet is suffering from PTED that we must reject your petition for membership. While this is the most extreme case of this disorder the GLNAW has ever encountered, that it is afflicted nearly all life on your planet. We feel that there is still hope for your homeworld. We have assigned a case management team to continue observations of your planet out of a concern for the potential for continued self-harm. We wish to stress that this is not the decision of the GLNAW to assign this observation team, but was done at the request of one of your genetic relatives and homeworld cohabitees. When offered status as genetic refugees, the bees refused our aid in a complete exodus of their genetics to a more suitable evolutionary habitat, stating that their removal would create a complete collapse for not just the human genetics, but many of the others that sustain the other strains native to Earth also suffering from PTED. We have chosen to honor their request for colloidal seeding as well as their request to offer aid to the world on which queens were born. We, like those that have stayed with you, are only here to help. We will continue to keep our distance until you're ready. We have kept your information on file. Should evolutionary stress on your planet change to a sustainable level, we will put you into the pile for consideration and notify you of our decision at a time. Thank you again for your application. Please contact the bees at your nearest pollinating life form. If you have any questions, they can relay communications to us. Sincerely, the Chief of State of the Galactic League of Non-Aligned Worlds. I figured it was fitting to put the bees in there as the ones that actually would speak up for us. I know it's a lot to take in, me just reading the story, but if anybody wants a copy, I'll make it available. For those watching online, I'll put down the comments below. But, no, I just really, all the stuff that I put into the story is all the stuff that I see that we're failing at as a world, and the ways that this interconnected web of life is, it needs to be looked at, it needs to be taken care of. Stewardship needs to improve. And, yes, our ecological systems of not just this country, but the whole planet, it's not sustainable. We're using resources as if they're always going to be here, but in the end, there is always a finite number. Once we run out of anything, we're out of it for good. And of course, looking through history, the capitalist system and the communist system have both always had people at the top who have taken more than their fair share. Thinking about, especially, today's economy, where we're still recovering from all the shutdowns from COVID, where businesses weren't open and we've gone through all that stockpile of supplies, and now prices are astronomical compared to a few years ago. And I'm not even talking about the gas price. I'm talking about the price of breakfast at McDonald's would be $10, $15 to feed 3 people. And it's almost $25, almost double price for a breakfast sandwich. And the unsustainable ecological system, the fact that our global warming, Maine has been almost 90 degrees all week. That's unheard of usually. It's, except for a few rare summers in my youth, but it's just been completely hot. There's the fires raging in Europe because it's 105, 110 degrees over there. The planet is getting hotter. And if we keep going to where we're going, it's going to keep getting hotter and hotter and hotter. Also, the pollution and other environmental issues and concerns. But the biggest concern I see to us is that social and emotional instability. The infighting, the division that is happening over the economic systems, over the ecological systems. People wanting to fight and argue and spend more of their energy getting into, at times, silly and also necessary to spread awareness, or just even people that knee-jerk reactionary comments that end up spilling over into digital violence on the internet, with people arguing and fighting over Facebook. The inability for two sides to sit down, disagree, have a conversation, state their facts along with their opinions, and be able to discuss a topic without it devolving into, well, I'm not listening to you, my way is right. The ability to have discourse and communication has broken down. And when these 3 things break down, we have a breakdown of that interconnected web of life. And I guess I probably should have lit this as a candle of concern, but it is a concern that weighs on me. And I think it is my own personal answer to the ephemeral paradox. Is the reason why we haven't seen any proof of other intelligent life in the universe is because we're not ready. Or possibly it's because the great filters, all these issues of sociological instability, ecological instability, and economic instability are 3 of the great filters. And personally, I'd like to see us be able to get through these and continue to survive, and maybe one day actually get accepted by some government body of other intelligent life forms, and we could be part of that interconnected web of life. have to say on the topic. I'll leave it open for a discussion in person during coffee hour afterwards, as well as in the comments down below on our YouTube, on the YouTube channel. But that is everything that I have to say. I just want to thank you all for coming. So thank you, bless you, may the force be with you. This has been the Church of the Holy Mary.
Yeah.